Okay, next up we've got Andy Esser, carving your own parts, making your own rendering engines.
Yeah, apparently it's bad to make your own tech. So yes, I'm Andy Esser, Technical Director of Dependency. Just as a bit of an ego massage, who knows me before today? Brilliant. Excellent. I'll be referring to you guys later. And just so I know, who in here is using Unreal? CryEngine? Unity! How's that £1,000 licensing fee going for you? So I've co-founded a company called Dependency, and we originally started off as the plan was to make games. So it's cool. And realised after a couple of years that we basically don't really do that well because we've got massive scopes that AAA studios wouldn't be able to make at the end of it, so for 2 people to try and make. We're also part of the Made in Creative UK motion, which is something to try and raise the profile of the games industry in the UK, because lots of people apparently don't know that we have a very good games industry. For example, some particulars like 70% of people who play GTA didn't know it was made in Scotland. They thought it was an American company that made it. Twitter's awesome. You've probably heard that a bit today. So that's the company Twitter there at the top, and my personal Twitter, as well as company website and my email. Feel free to follow me, stalk me, send me emails at whatever time tonight. I don't bite too much. Have to chat about anything. I'll set this back up at the end as well. So, who are we? So, there's a company is Dependency. We originally started in 2010 by myself and my friend Phil Hurst, who lives in Australia, so we can't make it to any events ever because he's miles away apparently. And we tried to start making games. We originally decided to every indie developer does at some point, we're going to make an MMO. Not a good idea for your first project. So we tried to make a go at that, and we were looking at different game engines that were around, and I never really liked any of it. As a programmer, I love being really low level. I love having lots of control. All the engines I was using kept effectively tying one hand behind my back, or forced me to do things, or made me pay an exorbitant amount of money in order to turn shadows on. So we took the skills and experience that we developed over the last couple of years, and we decided we'd switch focus and start to develop tools and middleware and engines and things, which, according to a couple of talks this morning, is not something you should do. So there's 5 of us in Dependency now. So there's myself there, Phil Hurst, an American programmer called Andy Nail, and then a couple of UK students, Robin Silcock and Chance Miller. Both fantastic students, both just about to graduate. And we do keep trying to use more and more UK students, simply because you've got hundreds of students graduating, we need work done, they need something extra to put on their CV to differentiate themselves. So if you're a student, you're a programmer, you're an artist, and you're looking for contract work or anything like that, drop me an email and we'll see what we can do. But what we do is we try and expose them to actual industry practices. So we use things like Jira and Confluence, continuous integration, Agile, things that might not necessarily get taught in their degree, but it's something extra for them to put on their CV. Something they can talk about in an interview and differentiate themselves. And at the core of Dependency, we're artists, coders, engineers, and within play gamers. We all love playing video games. Okay, so we decided to go into tools, and most people sit there going, why do you want to make tools? Surely you want to make cool stuff, like running blowing stuff up, or a game that people are sat there playing on Tube every day, playing non-stop on their phones. I can spend weeks writing a shader out and love it. As soon as I have to try and make this character walk from this part of the room to another room and press a button and try and open the door and then jump around, I get so bored. I can't stand doing it. So that was kind of primarily why I started to do tools. Sorry. Who here knows about Boost Library? Okay. And the people who knew me before today, how many of you have heard me rant about Boost? Yeah. My impression of Boost is it's like someone came in from health and safety, went up to C++ and let's make this safe and child friendly and make it so you can play with it and not worry about damaging yourself. But as a result, it means that a lot of developers have no idea how a lot of things work. And that's something that really hurts me. They use things and have no idea why they're using it. They've just been told to use it at some point. Stack Overflow is a brilliant place for people saying use Boost. So I like to try and change that sort of opinion a bit by going, well, actually, we're not using stuff like that. We're running all our own. As I said, we're using students, so we're exposing them to that as well. And it's just to try and sort of get rid of the myth that you shouldn't always just use something off the shelf. If the end goal is to release a game and get it out as quickly as you can, use every library you can grab, use every tool you can get. But you need to understand why you're using them. Excuse me. So this is why I have a bit of a pet peeve with Boost. I hate it with passion. Anybody know what this is? It's actually Model T Ford. So, this was released in 1908, Model T Ford. We don't drive these anymore. Well, there's probably a couple of people who drive these, but for the most part, we don't drive these anymore. Because someone came along and said, I can make this better. I have an idea, I think it's better than your idea, I think it's better than his idea. I'm going to make it better, I'm going to push it out, and as you know, we're now driving around with hundreds of different kinds of cars that are hybrids and diesel and petrol and fully electric ones. So innovation and disruption is brilliant for the industry, any industry. So we thought, well, tools, there's a number of people who are sort of the big guys in the industry, so the three that we mentioned, Unreal, Unity, and CryEngine. Why do they get to have all the fun? Why do they get all the money? Let's try and break into this. There's obviously a market, people need tools. It's not the sexy part of game dev, but you guys can't do your job without tools. There is a large market for it. So a couple of other people that did a similar sort of thing, I'm hoping you'll recognise these people, is Bill Gates there, who founded Microsoft in 1976. He saw what the industry was doing, decided I can do better. And as we all know now, Windows is obviously the most popular operating system around the world. It has been for a while, although it's starting to lose traction. But he had an idea and decided that he was going to go with it, despite people telling him it was a crap idea. John Carmack, probably the father of modern day FPSs, he had an idea. He was told that smooth scrolling graphics on the PC would never happen. He went, that's all right, I can do that. And he did it overnight and recreated the entire first level of Mario and showed it to his bosses, and eventually that's how the software got formed. And then last but not least, we've got Steve Jobs, who, whether you like him or not, whether you agree with how he does business, he was innovative, he was disruptive to the industry, and they pushed a lot of research and a lot of technology forward. If it wasn't for Steve Jobs, we wouldn't have iPhones and iPads, iOS, which probably a large amount of you probably make a lot of money from. So, innovation is good. Just because someone says do it this way, doesn't mean you should. If you have an idea and you think it's unique and you can do it better than someone else is doing it, go for it. That's kind of the core of independent game development. I want to do something, no one's telling me I can't. I'm just going to do it and, stay coding until 4 o'clock in the morning and not get any sleep. So these three are actually some personal inspiration for me. I'm currently reading Steve Jobs' autobiography. He was a crazy man. There was some very weird things going on in his mind early on, but he did reasonably well, I think. So, innovation equals win is basically what I'm trying to get at with this talk. Is don't be afraid to change things up. Whether this is in gameplay mechanics, audio, graphics, the way you do your purchases, your pricing scheme, your distribution model, everything lends itself to being innovated upon and for changing something up. So I'm hoping most of you will recognise these. Of course, graphics aren't the only thing that have changed over the last 10 years, but it's difficult to sort of show off gameplay mechanics and visual presentation. But there we've got at the top there, we've got the first Doom, which was released in 1993. 11 years later, we've got Doom 3 in 2004. You can see there's a massive difference in quality between them. And it's because somebody went, these graphics are alright, I can see there's a bad guy running at me, it's probably dangerous, but we can make it look better, we can make it look sexier. Same thing, we've got the original Halo here, which I remember playing on the Xbox thinking, my god, these graphics are amazing. And I've since played Halo Anniversary Edition and tried to put it back into the original graphics, and I can't do it, it hurts my head. I have to switch back to the Reach engine. And then you see there on, again, another 11-year gap up to Halo 4, released in 2012. Absolutely stunning game, especially for the fact it's a 360 game. And all this progression is all driven by someone saying, I have an idea, we can do things better, we can improve. That sort of constant strive to improve on what is the norm. And at the end of the day, why not? If I want to make tools, I can make tools. Independent development, as I've said, is all about the fact that no one's telling you what you have to do. You're not tied into contracts and milestones if you don't have a publisher, obviously. You can, wake up and do whatever you like. This is what first originally attracted me to programming, is I can wake up one morning and go, I have an idea, sit my computer and code it. And, 6, 8, 10, 12, 40 weeks later, the idea materializes and it's rubbish, and I throw it away or realise what am I doing with my life. But I can do what I like, why not? Indie games are all here because we want to do something that we like to do. This is probably going to sound weird having this tweet up here from, considering I'm a tools developer. But this was a conversation that Mike Bickle was having with a couple of other people on Twitter a few weeks ago, which started out with people who looked down on Unity developers, saying they're not really game developers, they're kind of cheating, which is obvious, to be honest. So tools are irrelevant. Use what works for you, just use it to make awesome stuff. So, as a tools developer, I'm not making really sexy stuff, but I'm helping you guys make really sexy stuff. Maybe if I was a game developer, I might release 1 or 2 amazing games, make some money, maybe win some awards. As a tools developer with hundreds of people using my stuff, I can help them make some awards, make some money, win some awards, make some money, and be a part of their journey and their story, rather than just 1 or 2 that I can do in my lifetime. So tools are very much the domain of the developers. So you guys are my customers, you're my clients. The gamers don't care what you're using. They don't buy a game specifically because it's written in the crime engine. Unless you're Crisis fanboys. They don't care. So, I don't go up to gamers and say, I'm developing my own tools, because they're like, developers, I want to give you as much choice as possible. And, we've seen this on Wednesday. After I submitted this talk, and very quickly made some changes. Unity 5 was announced, and the next day Unreal went down to $20 a month, and then the next couple of hours later CryEngine went to $10 a month, which means that Unity are now in a bit of a precarious position, because they were top dog for a long time, mainly because even at £1,000, £1,500, whatever it was, they're still significantly cheaper than those 2 engines. Now you've got those 2 massive AAA engines available for basically not that much money. So the whole sort of horizon of tools is going to change, I think, over the next 12 months. Which means that this is the most exciting time to be an indie developer, which I'm sure I've said every single year for like the last 5 or 6 years. But this really is the most exciting time to be a developer. So hey, if the landscape becomes more and more competitive, that's all the more reason for me to try and jump in and steal my little bit of it. Find my market, as Steve was saying in his talk earlier, work out who your market is, work out who your competition is. There's hardly any tools developers really on the sort of scale that I'm hoping to aim for. So that's I think I can do well there. Fingers crossed. So what is it we're actually creating then to try and do this? I got ahead of myself there. What is it that is game development? Okay, so primarily, you have your light bulb moment, you're sitting in the shower or driving home or wake up in the middle of the night, cold sweat, you've got your idea of an amazing game. And your goal is to get it into the hands of developers, into gamers, And to do that, there are 3 core things you need. Skill. It's kind of given, that one. This is your programmers, your artists, your audio guys. You can't make anything without a bit of skill. Time, well, but I can't give you time. I can't find a little blue box with the phone, blue telephone box, and go back in time and give you this idea earlier. What I can do is make repetitive tasks and everything you're doing quicker, so that you can iterate much more quickly, or you can fail that idea more quickly, move on to the next idea you've got. And the third thing is money. So, time is money, fairly obvious matter that people know. Again, I can't give you guys money, I don't have any money to give you, but I can provide a set of tools that are, of value, that are affordable. And obviously, Unreal and CryEngine have done the same thing now. They've now become very affordable engines. So our idea is to help with those bottom two, the time and the money. That's it. I can't really do much about skill. If you don't have any skill, there's a limited amount of stuff I need to help you there. So, Chimera. Anyone heard of it before today? Brilliant. Actually, I'm going to borrow you to push the message there. So, Chimera is our game framework, is our game solution. And when we were sitting down and planning out what we were going to do after we'd spent 2 years trying to make games and failing, we thought, right, what is it we want to do? Now, we can't rival CryEngine or Unreal in terms of graphics. We just don't have the team. So what we can work on, though, is making it as high performance as possible, as many platforms as possible, and then everything else that goes around the engine, because there's only so much that is the actual engine drawing pixels on the screen. So it had to be high performance, cross-platform, and then loads of supporting documentation. So we're putting together whole, API references, YouTube video tutorials, webcasts we'll start doing once it's released, things like that, just so that we can get people using it as quickly as possible with as shorter a learning time as possible. And then supplementary tools. So in the AAA industry, there have been tools such as live preview of your game on the device, or offline asset processing, turning it into a compressed texture, things like that. Continuous integration, which is a big thing in software development nowadays. These are all things that have been around in the AAA industry for a long time, but haven't really trickled down towards the indies that much. So this is something we're pushing a lot with Chimera, is providing these extra tools. So it's not just an editor where you create a scene. There's all sorts of collaborative tools, there's continuous integration tools, just to sort of help reduce that time that you require to go from this idea to this idea to this idea. Apologies if this starts to sound like a sales pitch, not my intention. And we wanted the engine to be more than just a point and click, so it's not just the editor. There'll be an editor, so you can set the scenes, you can manipulate your data, and you can start to write scripts and modules for it. But if you want, you can completely do away with the editor and write everything purely in code against the libraries. I don't see why you would, but the point is you have the option, you've got the control that you want there. And we've made it very modular. So at the bottom of Chimera there's a core that basically abstracts away all the cross-platform stuff. So you're threading between Windows and you're threading on levels and things like that. We abstract it all away so you don't have to worry about it. And then on top of that, we've got a number of libraries, so audio, rendering, UI, physics, things like that. But you don't have to use those. So if you've already forked out hundreds of dollars or tens of thousands of dollars on a license for F1, for example, you can throw that in if you want to. You don't have to suddenly rewrite a large amount or throw away a license you've already got. You can just snap in whatever technology you've already got. Or you can use everything we've got and not have to worry about any of that development. And the whole modularity approach also applies to your gameplay, your game code. You can reload that dynamically without having to stop the game and start it again. So you can very quickly iterate on your ideas and the gameplay that you're trying to work on, rather than having to stop, you can compile the whole thing, start it, get back to the point on the level you were, and continue. Just reload the module, boom, continue playing. Okay, so just like all great games, we have a beta, and we need your help. So if you go along to there's a very simple form, you just need your email address. There's a bunch of extra forms that you can fill in if you want. We're looking at releasing the first part of the engine at the end of April. So we want to get as many developers on board as early as possible to ensure that the tools we're making actually help you, rather than me thinking I'm helping you and actually ending up being just really rubbish. So, you know, please go on to there, sign up, and as I said, sort of towards the end of April, we'll start sending out versions of the code to get people to actually start using it and see how user-friendly it is and how easy it is to build something. This is the takeaway points of the presentation. Don't be afraid to do something different. So this is the whole, you know, innovate, choose something different, find something where there's a niche or where it's currently lacking in an offering. There's no point making a copy of paper that's already a head out. You know, do something different. And venture outside your comfort zone. As Louise said, if someone asks you to do something, just say yes and assume it can be done. Similar thing here. If you have something that you want to do but you've never done before, just give it a try. The only thing you're going to lose is a bit of time. You've learned a massive amount by doing that. So yeah. In terms of the venturing outside don't be afraid to do something different. I'm not the most organised person. So I sent out some Christmas cards from Zero Dependency. They didn't exactly get sent out before Christmas, because they turned up at my house on Christmas Eve. I sent them the day before New Year's Eve, and they arrived sort of about mid-January. But hey, I then, as a result of that, ended up getting a 2-page article developed from Will, who I think is still here.
No, he's gone.
No, he's gone, okay, fine. From Will Freeman, because he got it, and as a result, name stuck in his head, and he needed to write something about a tools company. There you go. So, you know, do something different, do something memorable, you know, to help make yourself stand out. Yeah, I think that's basically me done. That's the more enjoyable day done. Are there any questions? Yes.
So, what are you doing to Dependency, Unreal, and CryEngine?
So, what? Okay. It's basically trying to bring all those extra things that have existed in the AAA industry down to the indies. So Unity is brilliant. I think it's one of the best things that's happened in the industry for the last few years. I personally don't like using it. I've tried. I lose my temper after that because it stops me from doing things that are not 10 lines of code. So one of the big things we're doing is the live preview stuff. So you can run up the editor. You've got your Android tablet or your PS4 dev kit hooked up on your network, and it will stream the game to it, and you can edit the scene live on the kit and start running around the scene, rather than having to recompile, redeploy, run it up again. And it's little things like that. It doesn't sound like something that amazing, but it can drastically reduce your iteration time.
So it's kind of like Unity Remote for console platforms?
For any platform, basically. We're targeting as many platforms as we can get. We've also got plugins for Max and Maya, so you can see the model in real time and see exactly how it would look in the same renderer that you'll be using. So your artist can just have that window open and see, oh look, I'm making a change. Oh look, that's how it looks. Or, you know, actually that looks crap. You can tie those two features together. So you've got your guy in Maya, you're making a change, which then gets synced with the editor, which then appears on your PS4, and you can instantly see how it looks, but with no recompilation on the way. It's seconds that look, you know, goes on between them. We're also doing things with collaborative tools. It's probably a lot of you guys are one or two, you know, man studios, maybe not even working in the same room, probably across the world. So we're planning on tools so that you can both, or all of you can edit a scene at the same time, automatically sync the changes between it. All little things that are really obvious, but, you know, can all be massive time savers. So it's just little things like that. And if there's any other ideas that people want, you know, as I said, we're doing a beta. The point of this is to make the tools that you want. You know, give us some feedback and let us know, and we'll look at whether we can build it into the engine. Any more questions?
Would you consider making the engine extendable?
So you had users submitted modules that they've made custom. Could they submit it to you and then actually get it to the engine?
Well, the underlying sort of modular architecture made that very easy to do. Whether it be something that we distribute, so like have some sort of a centralized place where you can download the modules, or whether we just say, go ahead, release it as a DLL or something that then people can use. The editor itself is written in Chimera, so all the power of Chimera is available in the editor, so you can then change the entire editor yourself, add in plugins, and make a new feature, and potentially then pass that on and sell it to other developers. So yes, it would be modular. Any more questions? Yes.
You said you can quickly integrate all these third-party tools and everything, but I thought there's quite a lot of red tape and things to go around between your companies and all that.
At the end of the, if you've bought Chimera, it comes with an audio library. Or will come with an audio library when we actually sort of finish it. If you already own WWise, there's no license. There's nothing in their license, as far as I'm aware, that will stop you from dropping it in to use it, because you still own the license to that. You're still allowed to use it. Fmod's gone free for indies now, which is another great change that's happened in the last couple of weeks. So if you wanted to use Fmod instead of whatever we provide, again, the only thing you've got to do is just wrap it in a very sort of lightweight interface, drop it in, and in theory it should all just work, and you don't have to worry about it. In terms of the licensing and sort of red tape and things like that, I'm not aware of any problems at the moment, other than platform renderers and platform libraries. So, for example, we couldn't ship it with a PlayStation SDK unless you're a verified PlayStation developer. Same with Xbox and Nintendo and things. But other than that, I'm not aware of any issues that will happen. Sorry, yeah.
About the integration tools, these
Continuous integration. Okay, so there are command line tools that we're developing at the moment for packaging and textures and models and basically any assets. The primary reason for that is to turn it into a format that's perfect for the target platform. So, for example, PlayStation has a best way of storing data that's not necessarily the best way to do it on PC. So there are command line tools that will output those files in the right place. And because their command line tools are very easy, very configurable to use, you can easily tie them into something like TeamCity or Jenkins to use your continuous integration. And then every time an artist submits a new text to a perf or sort of Git, it automatically rebuilds, outputs your textures, you've got a package, you can then instantly deploy that to another PS4 or anything like that, send it to QA or whatever you want to do. So it's all tools that are along those sorts of lines. That you can either use if you want to or choose not to use, and they'll be done when you export the project.
Because I think that's one of the things that does not exist in Unity, isn't it?
I've heard that the continuous integration support for Unity is not fantastic. I may be wrong. Sorry?
It's doable.
It's doable, but okay. I mean, I've not used Unity in depth or tried to use it confusing. I'm just sort of, this is just what I've heard. But everything is doable some way or another. But yes, I mean, if anyone's got any more questions, I'm around the rest of today and tomorrow. So just go and have a chat about anything. Okay.